With less than 24 hours to go until West Ham play a very, very important game against Southampton in the Premier League. My goodness, by the way, did you see the games that were played in the Premier League today, Saturday? Awful. I don't watch that many other games that don't involve West Ham. I certainly don't commit to 90 minutes very often. So I watch Leicester and I watch Palace, watch Tottenham, watch Everton. I don't even know why I do it. I even tuned in, believe it or not, to a little bit of the Wolves and Forest game. That'll teach me. Anyway, surely the West Ham game's got to be better than that with a West Ham win, of course. But there's quite a lot of team news, so I just want to go through that just ahead of the game and just want to talk about some interest from Maxwell Cornet, because apparently he's not being used at West Ham. We'll get to that in just a second. Right. Okay, so look, we got... Defenders seem to be dropping like flies at the moment. So we've got knocks, we've got proper injuries, and we got a virus at the moment. The virus is why Michail Antonio didn't play in the midweek game against Anderlecht. Now, I've read an awful lot of comments about everything. I think people are almost too caught up on, is it COVID, is it not COVID? It doesn't really matter in that sense. I mean, it doesn't really matter whether it's a cold, whether it's a flu, or whether it's COVID, or whatever it is. I think the fact of the matter is it debilitating? Is it basically meaning you're in bed with a towel wrapped around your head and you've got a bad back and all the rest? Basically, can you function on a football pitch? And I think that's the problem at the moment. There's a few people in the squad going down with whatever virus this may be, and it's not. It basically looks like a 48-hour thing, and you're pretty. You're pretty pooped, let's put it that way. Or, as Antonio said, dead. Not actually really dead, of course. So apparently Kurt Zouma has been isolated. The club put Kurt Zouma into isolation. And I've read two different interpretations of this, if you like. The first one is that Kurt Zouma is so ill with this virus, he's been put into isolation so he can't give it to the rest of the squad. The other thing I heard was that Kurt Zouma is the only defender without this virus, central defender, and because of a knock to Kehrer and because of a knock to Dawson, we're just basically putting him in isolation so he can't catch it. I don't know. I guess we won't know until tomorrow. However, he certainly did have a knock. He didn't appear in European game, that's for sure. Last time we saw him a week ago, he had a knock. He was limping at the end of the game. Obviously, Dawson was brought on as a substitute because Ogbonna got injured. Ogbonna's been ruled out, by the way. Ogbonna got injured. Dawson came on and he got substituted again. So he's got a knock. Keirer's got a knock. David Moyes is being a little bit coy about it. Look, we got at least a couple of defenders out. Might be a few more. It may well be, as far as I've heard, that David Moyes makes the decision as late as 2 hours before kickoff. So that's going to be really interesting. So it's going to be interesting to see what David Moyes does within the parameters of the squad. Apparently, Antonio was back running now, and he had a little light training session yesterday, apparently. So has Antonio fully recovered? I don't know. In all honesty, I think I'd want Scamacca to play anyway. Interesting game, very, very important game, as we've already discussed. If you've not seen it already, go and check out over on the main Hammers Chat channel. Gio has spoken to a Southampton fan and to get the opposition view of it. So yeah, go and check that out. What I'll do is I'll put it in the link at the end of this video. That should hopefully take you straight towards that one. Suffice to say, he's not confident. He wants his manager gone, basically. So I guess you could understand it, and they're not doing too well, are they? It would be very West Hamish for them to turn it around against us, though. But I'm feeling quite confident. I think we're all right. We've certainly got goals in us. The defence, well, that's been pretty good recently too, but it does depend on if we've got enough fit and healthy component parts to put in that defence. Let me just tell you about this Cornet story, as I'll tell you why, and I'm just going to probably do this as like a West Ham news update video. Because if I don't discuss it today, it's not going to get discussed tomorrow because it's match day. The day after, I like to dissect the game in a little bit more detail. And after that, it's just sort of old news, isn't it? Okay, so it's Wolfsburg want Maxwell Cornet. And it basically... It goes on, there's a few links, and the links are from German-based journalists who are basically saying because he's not getting many minutes at all. He's had very, very limited game time. And Cornet basically goes on to say Cornet's longest appearance in the Premier League was 34 minutes. Just, crikey, that only really tells half the story. We all know that David Moyes is incredibly cautious in the way that he eases these players into his team. We know that, frustratingly so, for me anyway. But he clearly won his place back. Well, I say won his place. He clearly got a place in the first team. Cornet got injured, and that was that. I thought he'd started well. I thought he'd played well when he's featured in Europe. I just don't think this. Look, Wolfsburg might be interested in this player, but I would just want to put this out there. I just completely discount this. There's no way he's going to be for sale. And this is the thing. One story comes out, and I'll just have a little look at where it's my favourite website, Caught Offside. If you know, you know. And I just think that maybe they've run with it and then everybody else has picked up on it. And it also making it seem like Cornet is available for transfer. He's not available for transfer at all. I'm pretty sure of that. And actually, I'm looking forward to him coming back. He's another one. To be fair, we don't need to rush him back for this one, do we? Let's be honest. Ben Rama, as I know he played in midweek, but he's not going to be knackered. So let's be fair, he's had a good old rest up recently. Ben Rama left wing. I mean, it's the obvious thing to do. You've got Antonio there who's back training. You know, even he's still a little bit fatigued from the illness, then you can he can come off the bench or he can go wide or whatever. Skamaka plays up front. Bowen is in tip-top form. Do you know what I like about Bowen being on form as well? Well, aside from the fact that he scores goals, he's now speaking like it. He was almost a little... I don't know if that's something happened with going away with England or whatever. I don't know if it dented his confidence. Thought he played quite well when he made his debut for England, actually. But I don't know if being involved or... whatever. He didn't come back the same player. Now he's starting to look like the same player. But he's quite telling. He's speaking of going on a goal-scoring run and scoring for fun between now and the end of the season, which is nice to hear him talking like that and actually putting himself forward to speak in the press. He was very, very complimentary about Declan Rice as well because David Moyes used him for one of the press conferences and took him out there, and he was talking about Declan Rice being the glue that bonds the team together. So, things like that are nice for him to say, but it's nice just to hear him confident, nice to hear him talking about the team and his teammates in such glowing terms. It certainly seems to be a happier place at the moment. David Moyes himself has alluded to the fact that it's a little bit of a happier place. He mentioned in an interview a couple of days ago that we missed Stuart Pearce. I think it was... I think a lot of people suspected that, didn't they? But I think it was quite nice to hear him say it as well. So that doesn't help the fact that he's gone. But you know what? You can't deal with problems unless you're aware of what they are. And that's really something, and that's good. And it's nice to hear that Declan's growing into the club captaincy role, which was a point that Bowen made. Also, Moyes said he's looking to rotate the team more. He wants to rotate increasingly more and more. And again, I like hearing him say things like that because... he just didn't say that when he had the options of, sort of like Yarmolenko and Ryan Fredericks and people like that. He just didn't say those things. And, I can't wait to get Alex Crow involved more. He's saying it with Lynn Downs. He's speaking of him very much in terms of long term. I want to use this guy. I see him having a long term future at the club. It might take him 6 months to bed in and get it properly, but he knows what we expect from him. And I think I'm just going back to the start of the video when I mentioned that I watched the Crystal Palace game and the Leicester game. And I can't help but watch Crystal Palace at the moment and think, what would Flynn Downs be doing if he was there? And I think he would have played most of the games. I think he certainly have got into the world of midfield that I saw when I watched them today. And that being said, I still think, looking back on it, I was a little bit worried that he might get annoyed at being at West Ham. I know he supports the club, but he might have been looking back and thinking, have I made the wrong choice? And like I said when I did the Flynn Downs video last week, we don't know what's said behind closed doors. And I did say that. I said it's highly likely David Moyes has spoken to him. And it appears that he has. And I think he's very much laid the foundations and set the expectation level by saying, look, you are going to have a long-term future at the club, but it's going to take you, whatever he's said, 6 months before I feel that you're up to. We've trained you to basically be what I want you to be. Personally, I think probably Flynn Downs is a little bit further along than David Moyes thought he was. I'm looking forward to seeing him in a Premier League game, as I'm sure most of you are. I don't think that's going to be now, though. I do expect to see Soucek play against Southampton. How are Southampton going to play? I don't know. I mentioned it in the preview. It was either the last game or the game before. I think they played Ward-Prowse and Maitland-Niles as a central midfield pairing, because they only played 2 in central midfield. I think if they go with that again, I'm very, very confident of our chances. Anyway, join myself and Gio an hour and 5 minutes before kickoff over on the main channel. Charlie be doing a watch-along as well. If you want one of these, you see, it's the Who, but it's not the Who, if you know what I mean. The Woo. Anyway, check out hammerschatstore.com. Go and check it out. I've got loads of stuff. If you wonder why I keep wearing Christmas jumpers as well, just in case you don't know, we can't start selling Christmas jumpers midway through December because we'll never get them posted out in time. So that's why we've got to pre-order them, and then they all got to be sent out by mid-November. That's why I'm not feeling particularly festive yet. And as I said, children, Father Christmas and the elves and his little helpers have got to knit all the jumpers to get them ready for Christmas. There you go. Anyway, I'll catch up with you an hour and 5 minutes before kick-off. Don't be late.